Alright, what is going on, my fellow filmmakers? So today we're going to be jumping inside DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. And without further ado, let's roll the intro. Alright, thank you guys for checking out the video. If you're new to the channel, please help me grow the channel and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. That would be great. So we're going to be jumping inside DaVinci Resolve 16 today and doing some color grading. And I'm going to show you step by step on how I build my color grades, how I build my node trees, and how I go from point A to point B when it comes to color grading. So color grading is one of those things that I think every filmmaker, every freelance videographer should honestly spend some time learning, because it's really one of those things that can take your videos to the next level. It can really just take you to that next spot in your career when you have a video that has really good color. And I am not a professional colorist by any means. I do know a few things in DaVinci, and that is what I would like to teach you guys today. So without further ado, let's jump into DaVinci and get started on this color grade. Alright guys, so here we are inside DaVinci Resolve 16, and if you're new to DaVinci or you're new to color grading, just do your best to stick with me, because I'm going to try and do my best to explain step by step what exactly it is that we're doing for this color grade. So here we go. As you can see, we have our shot here. I filmed this at a wedding a few weeks ago, and I did shoot this on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. But if you're not using that camera, don't worry, because what we're about to do here can pretty much apply to any camera. You're just going to have to dial some of the settings back or dial some of them up depending on what camera you're using. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to move this frame over to what we call our hero shot. So we're going to find the best looking frame and pretty much build our grade off of that frame. So we'll probably park it right about here. And what we're going to do first, we're going to go ahead and just build our node tree. We're going to go step by step, and we're going to label it. That way we know what each node is doing. And the reason we build a whole node tree and we don't just apply all these effects to one single node is because a lot of the times you have to go back and adjust certain things. So if we have everything built on one single node, it's going to be hard to go back, and if we had to adjust the saturation or maybe adjust one of the curves, it's going to end up affecting the whole image instead of just that one effect. So by doing a bunch of different nodes and building out a whole tree, if you had to go back and change one thing, you can do that without it affecting the whole entire image. So let's start building up. And to do another node, you can hit Alt-S, that's a shortcut, or you can right-click, you can go to Add Node, and then here's your different types of nodes. So we're just going to be doing serial nodes, and we'll probably do one parallel node, but let's go ahead and get started. This first node, we are going to save this one. This will be our noise reduction, and we're going to do this very last because noise reduction is super heavy. It's really heavy on your computer, and I usually don't put noise reduction until the very last thing, or else it's going to struggle playing back. So we'll label that, we'll leave it right there. We're going to add another one. This node is going to be our exposure. And what we'll do in here is we will adjust just our main exposures. We're going to do some stuff in our primaries wheels, the shadows, highlights, midtones. We'll do some contrast in here and a little bit of saturation. And so let's go ahead and just build the tree, and then we'll come back and we'll do all this fun stuff. So the next node is going to be a curve. And let's go ahead and add a parallel node right here. And this parallel node is going to be our skin. And going forth from there, we will do a look adjustment. After that one, we are going to do another curve, and this one we're going to end up dropping out a little bit of greens. And let's keep moving forward. This next node will be a vignette. We're going to add some sharpening after that. And then to wrap this whole thing up, we are going to add some film grain. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our exposure. As you can see down here in our scopes, if you don't have this turned on, if you come over to the right, you can see the different types of scopes. We have the parade, waveform, vector, histogram, and I'm not even going to try and say this word right now, whatever that is. Honestly, I usually always keep it on the parade. Sometimes I'll jump over to the vector scope to see where my skins are landing. But for this whole tutorial, we'll keep this on the parade. And so as you can see with our reds, greens, and blues, they're all pretty balanced. They're looking pretty even. Everything's pretty much falling pretty close to the same spot. And so what we're going to do, starting off with this exposure, over here we have our different panels. And we'll jump over to the color wheels panel, and we're going to start in our primaries. We have these 3 dots here. First one, we got our primaries. We have our primaries bars, and then we have our log wheels. So we'll start in the primaries, and we're just going to adjust the blacks, the shadows. We're going to pull these down. Not that far down. That was a little too much. Sometimes DaVinci's a little jumpy. As you can see, just jumped again. So our goal here, we're going to try and get these down, pretty much get our reds, greens, and blues touching the bottom of the parade. And this is just, preference. This is where I like them. I like to get them right down, touching the bottom. And we'll park it about right there at -0.16. And just to clarify the look I'm going for, I want to go for a darker, moody look. This girl's wedding kind of had that more moody feel to it, and I know that's her style. So I really want to incorporate that in the overall tone, in the overall grade of my video. So we'll bring that down. We'll park it about right there. We're going to jump over to our gamma, and the gamma is the midtones. So everything we do in here is going to be affecting our midtones. And, usually skins, they fall on the midtone. So we're going to bring our gamma up. We're going to bring her skin up just a bit. And it's always good to push an image too far, and then you bring it back. It's good to push it to see how far it can go before it starts crumbling, and then just bring it back to a level that you're comfortable with. So I think about right there, about 0.08 is what I'm looking for in this image. And then let's go ahead and bring our gain down. It's a bit too bright. By adjusting the midtones, it really brightened up the image. So we're going to bring our gain down to a level that I'm more comfortable with, and to really just kind of get that look that I'm trying to achieve in this. And we're going to drop it way down. We'll go ahead and park it about right there, 0.67. So we got a few more things that we're going to do in here. As you can see at the bottom of this layer, we have a couple different pages. We got 1 and 2 that are all displaying different things. So over in 1, we are going to adjust our contrast and just kind of boost this up a little bit. Let's stretch out the image just a bit more, give it a more contrasty, moody feel. And we'll probably park it right about there. And then let's go ahead and just add a bit of saturation to this one. And it's always good, just throw that saturation up there. Obviously, that's way too far. I'm not trying to trying to bring that much orange into the image. So we're going to dial this back just a little bit, and I think right around 70, that's about what I'm looking for. So that's going to wrap it up for our exposure, and honestly, just by properly exposing this image, I mean, I could probably just park it right here, send this off, and she would be incredibly stoked on the look. But we're going to do some more stuff to this, and we're really going to try and pull out a couple more colors and just add a bit more to this look. So let's jump over to this curve. And for this one, what we're going to do is over here, we have a bunch of different pages. We're going to click on our curves page. And what we're going to do here is we're going to pull out a little bit of reds from this. So right here, you can see this chain that is right now it's connecting the yellows, reds, greens, and blues. So we're going to unlink this chain. So now we can just affect one of those channels, and we want the red channel. So we'll go ahead and click the red. And let's just go ahead and pull this down a little bit. We'll kind of level out our scopes just a bit. We don't want to go too much because you can see it just adds an overall teal look to this, which may not be bad depending on the look you're going for. But for this one, we're not going for a super teal look. So we'll go ahead and just drop those reds just a bit. And I think that'll do it for now. So next we're going to jump into our skin node, and this is one of my favorites. I love trying to get good skin tones. I think it's a really important thing when it comes to color grading, and especially on a close-up shot like this, where that's all we have in frame is two subjects. We have her and her husband, and she is the main focus on this shot. So we're really going to try and just make her skin pop. You know, we really want the viewer, we want their eyes to just be drawn right toward her as soon as this shot comes up. So we're going to really try and get these skin tones looking creamy, get them looking good, and just really make her pop out in this image. So what we'll do for this, we'll jump over to our qualifier, which is this little eyedropper right here. So go ahead and click that guy. And we're just going to give a nice little drag across her skin to select a chunk of her skin. So we'll go ahead and drag it across. And as you can see, it's selected different hue range, a saturation range, and we got our luminance over here. So if you hit this little wand up here, this is going to show us what we've selected. You can either click that guy or you can hit Shift H, and that will show you what you've selected as well. So as you can see, we selected a bit more than just her skin. We have some of these trees that got over there. All her hair is selected, which we don't want any of that stuff. So to really dial this in, we're going to take it to the next level. And we're going to draw a power window around the skin tones. So if you click this window right here, this opens up all our different power windows. What we're going to do is grab the pen tool. We'll go ahead and hit Shift H just to get out of that so we can see a bit more. And we're just going to start drawing a power window pretty close to her skin. It doesn't have to be, you know, perfectly spot on or something, but we want it pretty close. So we'll go ahead and draw this around. And there's our window. So what we're going to do now is over here in this transform panel, we can add some softness to the edges of this, because right now, if you see, we just have this harsh line. So if we were to start adjusting the skin right now and, you know, going forth with this, it would just give a really harsh line, and you would totally be able to tell what we've done. So what we'll do is we'll go down here to the inside and we'll push this out, get it pretty close to the skin. This is really just going to feather it out, and we'll draw out the outside just a little bit. So now you see it added a bit of feathering up in here. You can see the feather that it added. So we're going to take it to the next step. We'll go a little bit further with that. And over here, back in the qualifying panel, we're going to add some denoise and really just kind of soften that up even more. And we're going to push out this blur radius, and we're just going to push this all the way out. We're going to be super generous with it. Okay, so now we have our matte. It's drawn up, it's feathered out, but there's still areas of her skin that are not selected. So what we're going to do is play around with the hue, saturation, and luminance to really just kind of get all of her skin selected. So we'll pull out the saturation, we'll move it around a little bit, really kind of dial in the area that we're looking for. All right, so I think right about there is what I'm happy with. So what we're going to do now to enhance these skin tones, we'll go ahead and shut off that wand. So first we're going to jump down here into this second panel where we have a bunch of different things we can do. The main thing I'm looking for in this one is the mid-tone detail. I really want to soften up her skin and really just give it that creamy look. So by lowering this mid-tone detail, that's exactly what it's going to do. And let me just show you guys what this can do real quick. We'll go ahead and crank it up, and this is going to add a lot of detail to the midtones, a lot of sharpening to the midtones. As you can see, her skin totally just started to wrinkle up and almost kind of made her look like an old lady, you could say. So if we dial this all the way down, I mean, just look how soft that made her skin. Now, it's a bit too soft. That's not really what I'm looking for in this. We're going to dial it down to about -30. I think that gives us a good softness to her skin. So we'll do that. And then we're going to jump over to the gamma. Now, this is the midtones. However, it's going to pretty much affect everything in our power window because that's all we have in the power window is midtones. So we're going to crank this gamma over toward the orange and red just a little bit. We just want to give it a little bit of color in her skin, a little bit more color. So we'll probably park it about right there. I mean, we really just kind of nudged it, as you can see down here, just gave it a little nudge toward those colors. And then the final thing we're going to do is jump over to our curves and make sure we reconnect this chain. And then we're going to come over here to these 3 dots and we're going to turn on editable splines. So when you turn that guy on and click over here, you can see it brought up another point. So when you push this point up, it's really going to give a nice curve to the highlights. And so we're going to find a good spot that we want it. You know, it's always good to crank it up, see what it can do, and then just kind of dial it back in. And so I think right about there is what I'm happy with. And so let's just take a look at the difference. Let's see exactly what we did to the skin here. So we'll shut this node off. And I mean, just look how gray her skin is. I mean, it's boring in my opinion. So it's something I love to do. I love to really make those skins pop. And just doing these few things to the skin tones, it does just that. So as you can see, let's turn it back on and just look at the pop we did. Look at the color we added, and we really just made her skin and the highlights in her skin really just pop out. So let's move on to the next node. We're going to go to the look adjustment node. And for this one, we're actually going to add a bit more orange to the overall image. This was filmed at sunset, so I really do want to give off that sunset feel. As you can see, we're already getting a lot of that in the highlights of her face, the highlights of her husband's face. We're really getting that orange sunset vibe, but we're going to add a bit more to that by adding some orange to the overall image. So we'll jump over here. We're in our primaries wheels and the offset. So this will offset our whole image, and we're going to push it a little bit toward that orange and just kind of nudge it, just add a little bit more, not too much. Kind of add a little bit more to the whole image. And so let's see what we did right there. And not a lot, but you can see over in the blues over here, it really kind of added that sunset vibe to them. Let's turn it back on. And so just a little bit, but that's all it needs. And it's these little things that you do while you're color grading that are going to make the overall color grade really pop. So next we're going to jump over to this green node. As I said earlier, when we were in this curve and we pulled down the reds, it did add a bit of green. So right now we're going to pull some of that green back out, and we're going to come over to our curves. Make sure you turn this chain back off. We'll select our greens, and then we'll go ahead and just pull. Make sure we turn our splines off, and we'll go ahead and just pull those greens down just a bit. So by doing that, this kind of added a bit more reddish orange to the overall image, which is what we're going for in this shot. And you can see if we were to pull it all the way down, I mean, it just totally makes the image, gives it a very magenta tone. But as you can see now, I mean, see, there's a lot of greens in that image. So let's go ahead and pull them out. We'll probably park it right about there. And so we're really getting a good look here. We got a lot of orange in the highlights of her skin, really giving it that sunset feel. We have these nice teal and blue skies. And so let's go ahead and jump over to our next thing. What we're going to do, we're going to add a vignette to this, because like I said, I really do want to draw the focus, draw the attention to her. So we're going to kind of pull down the light, the highlights in the background, and really just draw that focus toward her. So we'll come over to our power window. We're going to create another window. We'll just go ahead and hit the circular one, and we're going to click this guy right here. What this will do is just kind of invert it. That way everything outside of the circle will get affected, but nothing in the circle will. So just go ahead and draw out your power window to how you want it. I'm going to stretch this out a bit. We're really going to soften it up, and we're going to make the focus more toward her, because that's what we're looking for in this. So we'll do it right about there. We're going to jump back over to the curves. And so what we'll do now is we'll just grab this curve right in the middle, somewhere in the middle, and just start pulling it down a bit. And you'll see the background start to darken up just a bit. We don't want to go too far, because I mean, then you can really see the vignette, and we don't want it to be noticeable. We want it to be noticeable, but yet unnoticeable. So we'll park it right there, and let's look at the difference we did. So, I mean, you can just see that background, how it darkened up, and it just made her pop even more, you know, just gave her that extra bit of pop. Okay, so we're almost wrapped up here. What we're going to do now, we're going to add a little bit of sharpening to this. We are going to add a bit of noise reduction at the end, and so I kind of want to counteract that by sharpening up the image just a little bit. So we'll come over here to our sharpen panel, and we're just going to drop this radius down just a little. Probably park it right there at 47. I mean, we just went down a tad, but that really does a lot. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and let's turn it off. You can see we're pretty soft here. Everything's looking pretty soft. Look at the edge of her skin, and then let's go ahead and turn the sharpening on, and you can see it just brings some of that detail back on the edges. So we got one more thing to do in the node tree, and that's our grain. So we'll go ahead and click there. We're going to open up our FX, search for grain. Right here we got the film grain, so let's go ahead and drag that onto here. And then our film grain preset, we are going to go to 35mm 400T, and we're just going to park it right there. I mean, you can see the grain it added over in the highlights. I hope you can see it. Not sure with the YouTube compression, but it really just kind of gives it an overall filmy look, which is something that we're trying to achieve in this video. So let's go ahead and move those over. And then we got one last thing to do, and that is our noise reduction. So we're going to come over to the noise reduction panel, which is this one. We're going to turn our frames over to 3, and then our temporal threshold, we'll probably move this up. We're not going to add a lot, just because this was shot in the daytime. There's really not a ton of grain, but I do like to add it just to kind of give it a little bit more softness, and in case there is any grains in the blacks and the shadows, it will just take those away. So we're going to change that to about 6. Our other one, our spatial threshold, we're going to unlink this chain. We don't want to mess with the lumas. That's going to add even more blur and softness to our image, which we're not trying to do. So we just want to affect the chroma. And so we'll just move this chroma probably to about 4.8. And that really just softens it up, kind of gives it that extra touch. As you can see, just check out how sharp it is right now. Hitting that noise reduction, we really just kind of softened up the whole image and just gave it that extra little touch of pizzazz that we were looking for. So there is one more thing that I forgot to do while doing the skin tone. So let's go ahead and jump back over to our skins. And what we're going to do, so because we added a custom window around her skin tones, you know, the skin tones is the only thing that we were trying to grab in this. So if we were to move our frame back and forth, let's go ahead and get that window up. So you can see this window does not track with her skin. It stays in the same spot. So now it's just going to be affecting, you know, whatever colors are in that window, it's going to be affecting those ones, which we don't want that. We want it to track with her skin. So what we're going to do, we're going to come back over to where our frame was. And right here in the tracker panel, DaVinci has really good tracking software. So we're pretty much just going to track this power window throughout the whole shot. It's really simple, so we'll come over to where we had parked our shot at. We're going to play it forward. As you can see, DaVinci automatically tracks the shot. And we'll come back over to this point, and then we'll track it backwards. And so just like that, bada boom, bada bing, we have our skin tones tracked throughout the entire shot. And you know what? We are actually going to come back and we're going to do the same thing with this vignette. That way this isn't tracking through. That way this isn't moving through the whole shot. We'll go ahead and track this vignette also. So come back over the tracking panel. We'll go ahead and play this one forward. As you can see, it just grabs everything in the center and just tracks along perfectly with it. And then we'll go ahead and play this back. So just like that, we have our vignette tracked. That's just over her skin. And there it is, guys. That will do it for this grade. We went from A to B, and I think we built an overall really good look. I'm really satisfied with the way this turned out, and I think the client is going to be extremely satisfied with how this looks. Well, thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Help support your boy. Smash the like button on the video and drop a comment below. I really enjoyed doing this color grading tutorial, and if this is something you guys would like to see more of, just let me know, and let me know your thoughts on this one. I'd really love to dive more into DaVinci and do some more color grades, so let me know your guys' thoughts and let me know how I can help you guys. All right, peace.